Ever pondered what bridges the gap between selflessness and spirituality? It's a question that might tickle your mind as it does mine. Selfless service, or the act of giving without expecting anything in return, is a potent catalyst to spiritual growth. It's a concept that's been celebrated in various cultures, religions, and philosophical schools of thought, from Buddhism to Stoicism. But why? What makes this act of selflessness so deeply intertwined with our spiritual journey? It's simple, really. Through selfless service, we learn to let go of our ego, our desires, our need for recognition. We learn to love unconditionally, to give unreservedly, and in the process, we grow. We become more compassionate, more understanding, more in tune with the world around us, and ultimately, with our own spiritual essence. In this video, we're going to narrate a compelling story that beautifully illustrates this concept. Stay with us as we delve into the journey of a man who found his spiritual enlightenment through selfless service. There was a man, we shall call him John, who lived a life centered around himself. John's world was filled with pursuits of personal gain, a fixation on his own desires, and a glaring absence of regard for others. It was a life that on the outside seemed prosperous and fulfilling. Yet on the inside, John was plagued by an emptiness that he could not shake off. He was a man adrift on a sea of material pleasures, but devoid of any spiritual fulfillment. He began to realize that his life, though filled with possessions and achievements, lacked something vital, a sense of purpose and connection. This realization was a jolt. It acted as a catalyst that sparked John's desire for change. He yearned for a life that was not just about him, but also about others. But this journey was not without its hurdles. John had spent years living for himself, and unlearning this mindset was a challenge. It required him to step out of his comfort zone, to put others before himself, and to value their happiness as much as his own. It meant giving without expecting anything in return, helping without seeking recognition, and loving without conditions. Each day, John pushed himself to serve more selflessly. Some days were harder than others. There were times when he faltered, when his old habits tried to creep back in, but he persevered. He picked himself up, dusted himself off, and continued on his path. As he served others, he began to experience a shift within himself. He felt a sense of fulfillment that he had never known before. The emptiness that once consumed him started to fade away, replaced by a deep sense of peace and contentment. He felt connected, not just to the people around him, but to something much bigger than himself. John's life began to transform, not just externally but internally as well. His journey of selflessness had begun. As John continued his path of selfless service, he began to feel a change within. A sense of fulfillment started blossoming in his heart, replacing the emptiness that once resided there. He felt a peace he had never known before, a tranquility that seemed to radiate from his very soul. This was the dawn of his spiritual awakening. John felt as though he was no longer just a drop in the ocean, but part of the ocean itself. He found himself connected to a higher power, a divine entity that seemed to guide his every action. He began to understand that every selfless deed, every act of kindness was not just benefiting those around him, but was also bringing him closer to God. John realized that his journey of selflessness was, in fact, a spiritual journey, a path leading him towards divine enlightenment. The more he served, the closer he felt to the divine. His journey had led him to spiritual growth. John's journey is not unique. It's a path we all can choose to walk. The beauty of selfless service is that it's a gift that keeps on giving. When we focus on helping others, we shift our attention away from our own worries and struggles. This shift can lead to a profound sense of inner peace and fulfillment. It's a journey of discovering that the true essence of happiness lies in the joy of others. Selfless service is not just about doing good deeds, it's about cultivating an attitude, a mindset of selflessness that can lead to spiritual growth. It's about realizing that we are all connected, that the joy we bring to others echoes back to us in ways we can't even imagine. So consider this. What if we all incorporated a little more selfless service into our lives? How much brighter could our world be? Remember, every act of selfless service brings us one step closer to our spiritual selves, to our true essence, and perhaps even closer to God.